A warm welcome to a new episode of Planet IX Open Talk. My name is Sabinia. I'm Head of Sustainability and Impact at Planet IX, and of course also the host of these Open Talks. And here we are back again to talk to you, Planet IX current and future players, and talk about everything that revolves around the game. And we really have an interesting episode today of Open Talks. We're going to talk about exciting big changes and other amazing things that are happening within Planet IX and give you all the updates. And of course, I'm not here alone. I am actually here with familiar faces, cool colleagues, and of course, the masterminds behind all of this. So starting up with Felipe.
Hello.
Creative Director. Good to have you here. And then Felix,
Hello.
the man behind, the brain behind the game and COO. And also Christopher, our beloved Head of Community, always checking on Discord and everything else. So a warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, as I mentioned, exciting things going on and also some big changes going on, all for the good. But tell us a bit, why is structural changes actually going on now in a beta phase?
I can take that one.
Okay.
I'll start asking you one question. What is beta? Beta, not only for us at Nibiru, but for a lot of other gaming companies, is a place and a time to test the game. So basically, you have designed something and you have a user experience in mind, and you have your game features and mechanics and the game loop, but the intention sometimes doesn't fit into the actual practical usage or playable of the game. So right now for us, it's our beta is a very small fragment of the full game, yet we had an amazing opportunity to learn so much and listen to feedback from players, from the community, understanding that some things were not really correct and we needed to improve. And also we learned so much, Christopher now, I think he knows so much more geography than when we started the entire project. I think he knows the world map as better as the
By
map,
heart.
the palm of his hands. Felix, on the other hand, is almost a mathematician now. He has been doing so many calculus around the math of the game, the economy of the game, how to make it better and more fluid for not only the game but also for the players. So the changes are indeed big. They're quite big changes, but they're all really positive changes. And with these changes, the game gets more fluid. I dare to say the game is much better now after these changes, easier as well. So players would get NFT territory quite much sooner than before in the old setting. All the Pix clusters are now NFTs. So if you've been buying a couple of drops in the past, you already own a bunch of NFTs in your collection, and this is great. The mapping of the game, which is a place where players will spend a lot of time as well. It's now much more fluid, and I'm not going to go into the details because I think we're going to do that today. But it's so much better. And back into your original question, why now? Basically, we of course heard the community, heard the players. We saw the opportunity to make something better, and I believe that I cannot speak for everyone, but I do. In a way that if we saw the room for improvement and we did not act upon it, I think we wouldn't be happy. And it's our commitment to make an amazing game. And of course, when we see room for improvement, we're going to take it. And mostly now in beta.
And I think that's also, what makes it so exciting, that the game is constantly evolving, and the beta phase, like you mentioned, is a phase where we can, really twist and turn everything to make the game experience more viable for the gamers. And you also come a lot with, the story and your creative ideas, and always so passionate.
I can't even the game story, the more conceptual stuff that it's cooking. The game story on itself, the seasons, all this is I get so hyped and so excited, and we have talks in the office about it, and we're really hyped. So like all these changes that are happening now, they're all really positive,
Mm.
but they're like, in a way, they're really big, but there's much bigger and more fantastic things
in the
coming.
pipeline. And we're definitely going to sort of delve into that, but just to sort of speak to both who are also so passionate in your own sort of area, but what's your comment on this, on why these big structural changes that we're going to develop now to sort of explain why they're so positive?
I would say that, first of all, I think Felipe did a very good, thoroughly job of packaging everything, the changes. Secondly, I would say that the biggest change we are doing is that we are moving assets on chain. We're moving it to the blockchain, so everybody has true ownership of all their assets. If we don't do these changes of the mechanics, that would be impossible for us to do after we are on chain. So it's kind of needed. So that's one thing. Secondly, I will also say that it's been a challenge for us to scale with the growth that we've seen in Planet IX. We've seen, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 players onboarding, and we still have, mechanical problems, like how to scale, how to build this game efficiently. So it's people have been, typing us on Discord like, we need to change this little thing here, and my stuff doesn't work. And we are eager to do all of these changes, but we kind of just, the first 3 months where we've been in beta, we just really had to focus on the scaling and how we can make this game, as grand as we want in the end.
And not to forget, you're really building, a global game-changing platform, let's put it that way. And it does take time. And this is, Planet IX is just a few months old, so it's easy to think that, we've been around for a while, which we actually haven't. And Christopher, what about you, out of sort of a community side? Why has it been so necessary with this sort of these changes?
Yeah, I can only concur with these guys. It's all about timing. It needs to be done before the blockchain implementations. But as Felix said, the community has been great in pointing out many of these things. We can play and we can try out all the features and systems ourselves, but the real true fact is from the players.
Yeah.
So it's been quite struggling as well, because they are keep adding improvements to us and suggestions, and we are already working on them. So we have been working with this updates for a while now, and it feels really good to be able to show them and to make these changes in the game.
And it's a very sort of nice way to show a very collaborative process, because where would Planet IX be without all of the players, especially in the beta phase? So that sort of collaborative process is part of the DNA as well. And you were also touching upon it, Felix. We were talking about how many players we currently have. How many players do we currently have now?
I think we crossed 300,000 registered users last week.
And only like a month ago or something, we did open talks and we were like 260,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the growth
It goes
is like,
fast. Yeah.
it goes and that's just during beta phase. So, Felix, what do you think, or any of you with the full launch, where will we be in round amounts?
My guess is that around 500,000 before the end of years. I would say it's we're going to attract a new type of users as well when we are on chain. So that will definitely help with growth.
Yeah. And just looking at all the work that has been done, all the work that is about to be done, I mean, the marketplace, the play to earn, sustainability and impact, the story coming. I mean, so many things in the doing, and just in the spirit of the beta phase.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of progress here.
Yes, and much more to come, as you said.
Much more to come.
And also we need to do this one step at a time as well. We can't just roll out all the changes, because that would be a bit overwhelming, I guess, for the community. So we need to do it step by step.
Step by step. So I thought we'd dive into the changes that are actually being made. We've done some announcements around them, but sort of dive into them. And my suggestion, just to make it sort of easy to understand, is that we go topic by topic.
Perfect.
That's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to have visuals, just to mention to our viewers. We're going to have visuals that will also sort of emphasize what we're talking about here, sort of graphically show you a bit of what we're talking about. And I'll also like to mention that all the announcements and everything we're talking about is going to both be in the game book and also on the Discord channel. So, you know, anything that you want to know about after we've had this open talk, do go in and check the game book or Discord. And Christopher is always there at hand as well. And speaking of that, Christopher, is it going to be available in several languages or?
Yeah, well, we have been focusing on
Yeah.
the 7 main languages from the community, and we will keep doing that.
7 plus 1, yeah.
Yeah.
7, yeah.
Plus one.
English is this one, yeah. So we will keep going with them. It's Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Japanese.
Wow. That's a great start. Okay, so if we start with the first topic, and that is really a topic that is nearly the foundation of the game, and that is the map. And I understand that the mapping was also one of the biggest challenges for you guys during the period of development before the beta phase. And like you say, you know the map on like the back of your hand, Christopher. And I know that it was like 50 programmers working just for a few months just to actually, you know, do the whole mapping and also get the tiers in geographical locations and so forth. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, but you're completely right. We had over 50 people working on just mapping out the different tiers because we wanted to gamify the world map in a good and fun way. So yeah, we spent a couple of months to make it as precise as possible.
So look at, but now we've changed it a bit. So that's what I think we're going to dive into, the change of the mapping and what has actually happened. So Felipe, tell us a bit, what has happened when it comes to the mapping?
Well, like to begin with, we knew that players would spend hours and hours within the map. It's a place where they would define strategies, window shop for new territories, trying to find partners to work together around their strategies. Like the new changes are basically a PIX that in the beginning when we designed the grid was 10 by 10 hexagon, made a lot of sense to us. But when we started distributing those PIX for all the players, like I'll give you an example. So if you have what we usually call a cluster for legendary, you have 1 PIX. But if you had a cluster of outlier, you had 1,000 PIX together. And when we distributed that, it was 1,001 data points. So imagine, and this just for like 2 clusters. So imagine dozens or even hundreds of thousands of what we used to call clusters being distributed together. There was a huge, like millions amount of data entries. Like I'm pretty confident that a lot of players would remember that in the very first 2 weeks or even 3 weeks of the game, when we start having our pack drops, the generation of the pigs in the map would take a couple of weeks. So that was really, really long. I think we came a long way through. The generation of pigs now much smoother, much faster. And I guess that like I dare to say that will be a question of hours within the new grid. So pigs are getting much bigger in different tiers, and some are remaining the same. But in the distribution of pigs will be much faster, much less data happening in the game. And also I also have to say that the new grid looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Like what we have today, we knew it was a beta and there was room for improvement, but the new one just looks so much more interesting. The pigs are different sizes and you can zoom in and out without losing your grid, which is something that happens today in our game. You can also see the colors of the different tiers and you can easily see what is yours, what is not yours, what is available. So yeah, it's much better an experience.
Yeah, and it really gives a better overview, which of course is really important if you're mapping the whole world as well. You also touched upon it because the regeneration of pigs. So if we dive a bit more into that, the need of regenerating all the pigs, and sort of what does that maybe mean for players who already have collections going on?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think that's a question that leads into a lot of stress from players, because they already started setting their strategies based on the distribution or the picks that they own. But with the regeneration of the picks, what happens is that, well, first and foremost, be assured that it's not going to be randomly done. You're going to keep your collections within the same drop zones. So if you bought a pack in Asia, in one of our very first drops, your new picks collections will be within Asia, within the same drop zone. We might not be precisely setting your picks in the same location that you had before, but it's going to be in the same region.
Yeah.
But also, what happens that, like with the new size of picks, you're gonna get much bigger areas.
Exactly.
So in that to say, like a lot of other NFT games or platforms or collections, something that dictates the value of the assets is scarcity. And of course, with the bigger, much bigger size of picks, comes a way
Scarcity, yeah.
bigger, a smaller quantity, which leads into scarcity. And of course, like in those examples that I was saying, like there's plenty of collections that they have very few assets still available or non-assets whatsoever available, yet the demand is still there, and so the value of their assets keep growing and growing. So it's good stuff.
And I guess that's also what scarcity is all about. The more scarce it is, the bigger the value can become. I thought we would just look at a comparison chart to sort of show the picks before and after, so our viewers can really get a feel for it. So you'll see that in your screen now. And I also want to say, Philippe, or addressing all of you, I'm just trying to get one-on-one, so you're all involved in the discussion. But I think what impresses me and probably the players is also the fact that, you know, you've opened up a lot of important information that maybe, you know, in the gaming community, you have to either research or make an assessment that that's the case. But here you're opening up a lot, and it's, you know, it's it's unusual to make these kind of announcements, you know, also as a gaming studio.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I think we've touched upon this before, and I can just reinforce that one of the core values of our company, Nibiru, is transparency. Like, that to say, there will be a lot of data within the changes that everyone has access to. We're not trying to, oh, this is amazing. We're actually showing you how amazing it is, and you can not only make assumptions, but you can actually see the data and compare yourself. Also, like, to say, Felix and Christopher have been writing the game book. There's a lot of really rich information in the game book. There's something coming soon. Felix can talk a little bit about the white paper, which is basically a game book that incorporates the economy of the game, a lot of the information of, let's say, the rewards that players can get from NFTs, details in the partnerships that we have in green sustainable companies, and much more. So, like, we really want to give accessibility to everyone. Like, everyone has easy way to get information of Planet IX and understand what the game is about and understand the economy of the game as well.
And like you say, transparency is key. I mean, that's also to be very valid for all the players and for the gaming community and so forth. So thank you for clarifying that. I sort of wanted to take it back to the size discussion. Size is always an interesting discussion, but in this case, we're talking, you know, about the picks and the clusters. The clusters get bigger, but the picks are sort of getting fewer. And just to say, so I say the right thing, if we look at Outliners, it's from 100 square meters to 700 square meters. So in that case, a player will get 7 times a bigger area than before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
The outliers are 7 times bigger.
Yeah, 7 times bigger
Yeah.
in size. So it's from 100,000 to 700,000 in the outlier tier. And it's also like a multiple from 7 to
And
start. So the legendary will be 300 square meters. And then the next step is 2,100. 15,000, 105,000, and then to end with 700,000.
But interesting, that is going to change the dynamics in a way. So let me think here. So within, 7 times. Well, that's really interesting, and we're going to talk more about that, Christopher. But Felipe, thank you for clarifying all of that. Is there anything you'd like to add? at this moment?
You
No?
guys, did I forget
Yeah.
something?
I'm just really proud because you start to talk about NFTs and scarcity, and it's just the whole team. I think the whole
Yeah.
team is starting to get everything because
Exactly.
not everybody comes from the crypto industry, and everybody's been really onboarded the last few months. And this is a great example.
Yeah, it's a learning curve.
Yeah, it's a learning curve for everybody.
Yeah, for
That's-
everybody, and that's the fun part as
Yeah.
well. But Kristoffer, let's look going forward as well. I want to talk or continue a bit about the amount of pigs. We already touched upon it now. But as I understood, so the cluster sizes are much bigger, and of course that means the pigs are sort of decreased in the game. But just what comes to mind, does that mean that the game will actually end sooner? As you know, it's growing more.
No. I mean, we look at it as a finite game or infinite game. Sorry, not a finite game.
Yeah.
We don't know where we will take this going forward. We keep developing as we get feedback, as we see people putting up strategies and so forth.
Up to today, we have already planned all the way up to 2024.
Oh my
So
God.
all that
Wow.
to say that the game is much longer than just a few months or just next year.
Yeah.
So we have a big plan.
There's definitely a longevity to it.
Exactly. So what is happening actually is that the first phase would end sooner, which is the collection of pigs. That's why we went from 1.7 trillion pigs down to 1.7 billion pigs, more or less. Since the hex grid now is increasing in size,
Yeah.
we will have fewer pigs. And we also removed the word cluster because
Yeah.
we don't have pigs together anymore as a cluster. Now we only have one bigger pigs. So that is basically the biggest difference.
Yeah.
But that is an advantage for the next phase of the game, which is developing the territorial NFTs into area, sector, domain, and federation. So in a way, you can say that we are speeding up
Yeah.
the first phase, but that only enables many other cool features later.
Of course,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So the territory NFTs. So how are they sort of being impacted by the changes? You touched upon it now.
Yeah, we will keep the same amount.
Yeah.
We're adding one zone lower.
Yeah.
We started with sectors before. Now we're adding area, which is a bit lower. I know Felix is going to mention that as well. That's only to, again, speed up the process and make people reach that level
Yeah.
a bit sooner. And this is where the true ownership of the NFT comes into play, the yield-bearing assets, which is a very interesting aspect in the game.
Definitely. And then, like you said, there's a federation, there's a domain, and there's a sector. And people who actually come in and whoever buys, so they always get instant access to rewards connected to that.
Yeah, so everything is on blockchain.
Yeah.
You can, of course, trade them in our marketplace, but it's also possible to trade on OpenSea, for example, or any other blockchain-based trading marketplaces. What you do need to have to get the reward,
Yeah.
which is aggregated, is an account at PlanetIX.
Yeah, because exactly. I was going to ask
Obviously,
that.
yeah, because you can buy and sell and trade your NFTs
Anyway, yeah.
anywhere and how you want to do it. But in order to actually get the reward, you need to have an account at PlanetIX.
Okay, so that they can come in, they can get an account, and then they can
Claim.
leave, claim an account. It's all
Oh,
about the wording.
claim the rewards.
Claim the rewards, open an account in PlanetIX, claim the rewards, and hopefully they want to stay in the game and continue, but you don't need to actually have
That's
more
the dream.
assets than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the intention,
Yeah,
obviously, and
exactly.
we have the marketplaces outside of PlanetIX as a good marketing arena as well. So.
And Felix, I'm soon coming to you, but Kristoffer, just one more thing, the new tier classification that we also haven't touched upon yet, but that's natural reserve and the metropolitan area.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So this is the biggest difference we actually are making in the game when we're changing the classifications inside the tiers.
Yeah.
The original idea with having natural reserve as the rare tier was because we're basing it on the real world sustainable renewable input or output or both. But that's why we wanted natural reserve as a higher ranked tier.
Yeah.
But now when we're redoing the grid, the numbers basically just adds up more efficiently. It's easier to understand for the players if we move it down a bit. And so we move up metropolitan area together with capital city in the rare, which in a way also make more sense
Exactly.
compared to the other classification in the tier.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, in uncommon, now we have a coastal line, same as before, together with natural reserve.
A lot of changes, but it's still quite, I'm sure basic. And if people want to dive more into this, like we said, it's going to be information both in the game book and on Discord, right? They can ask questions around it. Okay, so Felix, when it comes to you, of course, your passion of interest, NFT specific questions, whether it's regarding Planet IX or NFTs in general. So I thought we'd dive into that. And let's go straight to PIX clusters. So with these changes, every PIX cluster is now an NFT within Planet IX.
Yeah, so every PIX cluster is first and foremost a PIX only. There's no more
exactly.
clusters.
No.
They're getting bigger.
Yeah.
And all of these assets, all of the PIX are now NFTs.
All these PIX are now NFTs. And I need to learn that the clusters are not part of this anymore, so I keep getting clusters. I know. It takes time to get acquainted to this. Yeah, the PIX, yeah, exactly.
So it's a huge change, and it's going to be very demanding for us to we're gonna be the biggest NFT based game probably in the world, but definitely on Polygon, the blockchain that we're using for this game. And currently there will be 80 million, 90 million NFTs launched at when we're doing the launch, distributed to all of our users based on how many clusters they had before.
Exactly.
So that's a lot of assets.
That's definitely a lot of assets. And speaking of assets, so if we look at the difference in comparison to the landmark NFTs, or maybe even sort of the territorial NFTs, what is that? What's that?
So the territorial NFTs are the ones that you play or develop with your own PIX. And when you add the PIX close to each other, you start to create the first is the area and so forth. And that will actually evaporate the underlying PIX when you turn them into an area or a sector or domain or a federation. So the PIX count will get less and less and less. So from our starting point, it's 1.7 billion. We will end up in something like, what is it?
200 million?
Yeah, 200 million in the end. So it depends. And maybe, a year from now, maybe it will be even bigger NFTs, beyond federations, kingdoms, I don't know.
Who knows? Queendoms.
That's a teaser right there.
Who knows? But the thing you have to understand is that in order to develop it, you have to destroy the underlying PIX. So it will be less and less and less in PIX and more bigger territories, such as areas, sectors, domains, and federations. So the other part you're asking is the landmarks. And these are set and predefined NFTs. So there's two different NFTs classifications in the game. And they are, we have deployed them already. And the biggest changes to them is that they can be co-owned. So dependent on what kind of landmark it is, it has a kind of a rank from 1 to 5. And dependent on where they are located, in what tier, it gives you a number of shares that people can have the luck to get through the drops. So that's also
really
a huge improvement of how we designed it earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you can co-own, but also speaking a bit before, we talked about you can actually sell your NFTs and assets within the Planet IX, but also on other platforms like OpenSpace. What are the sort of advantages of doing either or?
I mean, when you use the marketplace in Planet IX, all of the people who are there knows the game pretty much. Looking just at an asset at an outside marketplace, maybe it's hard to them to comprehend, like the utilities that they carry. But people in our Planet IX community, they understand, they know, they can value it probably, out just from the utilities alone or from some other criterias.
Yeah.
So that's the main difference. But it will work effortless on every platform, basically.
And I would presume the fee is a bit lower, more favorable within Planet IX? Or?
I think it will probably be around the same.
Around the same,
and
okay.
people might say that, oh, why are you so high? And that's the economics part. So when you trade on Planet IX, it will benefit the whole game protocol, basically.
Yeah.
It will go back to the NFT holders. If it's a territory, if it's a landmark, dependent on what you do, the fees that are generated goes 100% back to the NFT
Exactly.
holders or the token holders.
Okay, so thank you for clarifying that, Felix. And I also wanted, well, I can address all of you, but Christopher, you mentioned it earlier. Sort of tell us a bit about the numbers for the federation, for the domain, for the sector, so we, get a bit of repetition.
Yeah, definitely. So we have different volumes to reach the different levels in the different 5 tiers we have. If we start with legendary, we have 1,000 to reach the full federation. Domain is halfway through, so 500. Sector 250, and now we're also adding the area, which is lower than sector. And if we go to rare, we start at 800 to reach the federation, and then we half that to 400 for the domain and 200 for the sector, and
then
we
it
go on. But yeah, there's different amounts
Yeah.
of picks to reach,
So-
and yeah.
So in a sense, simple math, once you get it, it's sort of, you've got the 100 and then goes down to 50 to domain, and then 25 of that you come to a sector.
Yeah, and all these tables will be presented in the gamebook and easy accessible. And then, in addition to that, we have the yield-bearing economics or tokenomics, which Felix is better equipped with. But that is to reach the different territories.
I mean,
Yeah.
in the end, it's a choice that the users have. If they want to go for maybe assets or territories that has high production yield, or if they want to make it faster, because it will take time to actually go to a federation, but the return is greater, right? So that's the difference. If you can either go by doing a lot of NFTs and federations by maybe focusing on outliers or lower ranked tiers, or you can go for more value for the buck, but that will take more investment, more time to accumulate and to create those NFTs. So it's a matter of how people strategize around the play styles they have.
And that's sort of the key word, strategy. It's a lot about strategy, at least if you want to have sort of that of the game, the trading part of it, and really, trade along with the assets. And you also touched upon it before, Felix, that you could now co-own landmark NFTs. But I was wondering, so if I own a share of an NFT, can I buy more shares of it, and can I even sell it, within Planet X or open,
Yeah.
what
So
can I do?
all shares act as NFTs itself, and dependent on how many shares you have in one NFT, there are different kind of tiers that will probably show you the difference. But in the legendary, in the 5 stars, sorry, in the 5 stars NFTs, there's only one owner. And in the 4 stars, there are 7 owners. So dependent on how many shares you have of the total amount, the payout is greater, right? So you can also purchase shares out of other people. Then you have 2 parts of 7. It's greater payout than you're just one. So how people will think about this and how people will evaluate the worth of these will also be interesting to see, the price mechanism.
Exactly.
Because it will take some time before we reach full potential in the marketplace, where we will see thousands, 100,000 of trades a day. and all of these kind of commissions trickle down to the landmarks. So it's I think if people get a hold of these NFT shares early on, we will see some sell out quickly. But I would say my guess, is that you should probably just hold it for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that this is, I just want to applaud, because it's not easy to actually sit and explain the complexity of a game that is currently also evolving. So, it really is, and that's what these open talks are about. But, really applaud it, because it's easy, but it also has a complexity to it. And you are the guys who've also come up with the whole strategy. So it's really applaudable to listen to. And I'm also wondering, with all these changes, and especially having, contact with all the players via Discords, do you think, or do you have the impression that the players, or the beta players, let's say at this stage, are really positive to these changes?
Yeah, I think changes are hard in general. It takes time to adapt and get used to it. Like everything, all projects and services we have been used to. I remember first time Facebook did their main update and change. That didn't feel good at all. So I think it will be a transition period, but we are so confident that this is the right way. If you look at it long term for the game and for the blockchain implementations, the blockchain and crypto communities when they will join us. So I will just need to roll up my sleeves and take the input we're getting in Discord. But we are focusing a lot on meeting all the new type of feedback and to really make sure that everybody gets it. In the end, that's what it's all about, that they understand why we're doing it and that they can see the vision that we're seeing. And it hasn't been an easy way for us either.
No.
We've been having harsh discussions at times from different perspectives, but we united at the end, and now we're just super thrilled to show it.
And the changes, just pointed out, it's for the longevity of the game.
Exactly.
Like, they are happening now, and of course you maybe as a player you're just looking at right now, oh my god, they're changing. But look ahead. Like, once we hit the blockchain and once we are a year ahead from today, you're going to understand that those changes were crucial. And that's why you have the game that you have in a year from today.
And we can never do the changes in a year from now.
I think that was what I was wanting to emphasize once again for all of our viewers to really understand. I mean, everybody's invited for a journey in a beta phase. And a beta phase, part of it is that you get the benefits of being part of the game from the beginning, but you're also part of all the changes and evolvements of the game. So there's sort of a patient aspect to it too, but you're actually grabbing onto something before everybody else. And like you said, once we're full on launch, changes can't be made. So the foundation is being built, which is the essence.
And I mean, Planet X, like current core product feature is the marketplace. So in one sense, you can say that the game hasn't really launched yet.
No.
We're about to launch. So
exactly. So just to sum it all up, any other takeaways or anything that you'd like to add? Maybe just add something, one each of you, to sort of before we
hang in there. It's getting better. There are changes, but it's only for the good, for sure. Hang in there, and there's a bunch of amazing stuff coming on top of that.
Yeah.
And I think that we know that there's been a lot of players or communities already starting working as DAOs, working as collaborative parties, and soon we will launch more tools to help you evaluate that. But the changes we are bringing to life now, and they will be making those kind of organizations much more easy throughout every step of the game, both in terms of how we built the smart contracts to how the design is also like visually easier to make strategies around the map.
Yeah, it really is like three parts of this. One is the map load. Felipe talked about loading faster for the map. The other one is design. It will look so much better, more easier overviewed, and nicer. And the third thing is the NFT and the blockchain implementations. So yeah, we've been working hard to actually make it. One last thing is about the NFT shares for the landmarks. They will both be handed out through the pack drops, but also the raffles that we're working on implementing and showing quite soon. So we're aiming for 15th of October for the first raffle, and that will be one important next step
Milestone,
of this first phase as well.
So exciting. Once again, thank you, thank the team for all that you're doing. This is such an exciting journey. So thank you for sharing your expertise and your knowledge on this. And of course, thank you to all of you players, because it's your collaboration that also makes it happen so that we can take this beta phase and start to fly in November for the launch. And we can't wait to invite you to the, the full launch experience, and also invite you to the real game story of Planet IX that we're going to reveal soon. We'll be back again with a new Open Talk, so stay tuned. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you for watching.